I need a job. Please, Lucy Pyre, help me find a job in Final Fantasy XIV. I still haven't picked a main job. I like just way too many. But yeah, anyway, let's have a look what Lucy Pyre has to say about choosing a job in Final Fantasy XIV.
So Daddy P tells me you're stuck trying to pick a class. Oh,
Yes.
don't be scared,
I
friend.
always switch
he has
around.
eyes and ears everywhere. It's all according to his keikaku. Keikaku means plan. Anyway, he sent me here to help you. But between you and me, I'm probably not the absolute best person for it. I'm not an expert on every single job out there. But you know what? I have leveled almost all of them to 90. Can you guess what I got to show for it? That's right. Opinions. Possibly of the bad variety, but I'm confident that at the end of this video,
Oh,
you're
wow.
gonna be able to look back and say, yeah, those were definitely some opinions. But first, a little disclaimer to help guide you through this video. One, in all seriousness, nothing I say can be completely objective. I mean, I could be objective by only talking about their spells and skills in depth, but I don't think that helps people choose a class. Generally, people are interested in how a job plays, not the rotational details that they'll have to learn in-game anyway. So while you can take this with a grain of salt if you want,
It also depends on what kind of person you are. Like, I have some friends that prefer like big flashy animations and big explosions. I have like friends that just want to be purely melee. They don't like anything range. And I guess it also depends on what kind of person you are, what you like in games. Are you that person that loves big swords and just slashing your enemies? Or are you someone that just loves freaking magic, right?
I am right on the edge of being a filthy casual. So I think my perspective is as close to a sprout as a veteran can possibly get. Too, the visuals in this video are not a representation of the actual job rotation, but more of a skill and spell showcase.
Just rough
Only use
info.
the rotations you see in this video if you've gone completely feral and want to be reported for griefing. And finally, number 3, remember that the best method of choosing a job is picking the one that looks fun to you. You're not gonna like the game if you pick a job based on what some stupid cringe lord said on the internet, so
True,
all other
that's true.
advice comes second to your own vibe check. Also, I'm gonna put 2 terms I'll be using up on the screen, so pause here if you want or need to read it. Otherwise, if you don't care or you already know a bit about MMOs, let's get right to it. Tanks. This is the role you want if being insanely overpowered is your ultimate fantasy. Let me kill one common myth that stops sprouts in their tracks. Tanking in this game is not hard. Maybe it is in other games, but it's definitely not in this game. Taking aggro is as easy as turning on your tank stance and hitting one AoE. Bam! All the enemies hate you now. Tanking is extreme.
You know what's interesting? I actually talked to some former WoW players that moved over to Final Fantasy XIV. And what's interesting is those that were tanks in WoW, they actually said that in Final Fantasy XIV tanking is way easier than in WoW. And that actually surprised me. So maybe it's actually really not that difficult. And by the way, guys, if you're new to this channel, please don't forget to hit that subscribe button for more content. So yeah, if you guys want to get into tanking in Final Fantasy XIV and you played other MMOs like ESO or WoW and you were tanking there before, you will not have a problem tanking in Final Fantasy XIV. Like, I'm not trying to say it's like the super easiest freaking role in the world or something. Like, you do have some responsibilities, but I don't think it is that much of a rough spot. I think anyone can get into it quite easily, right?
Extremely approachable, and it's also very forgiving. If a DPS can only afford to make 2 mistakes before dying, you can make 3 times that amount and literally shake it off. In fact, it's so easy that most of the time you'll be pulling several mob packs because enemies just don't deal enough damage to make you feel alive otherwise. So make sure your gear isn't broken before any duty and keep your eye on the party to check that you're going at the pace that everyone seems to want. Paladin is for people
Pull
who
when
like
everyone's
the
ready.
Holy Knight aesthetic or people like me who simply couldn't stop themselves from simping for Link as a child. It goes through a physical and magic damage phase, and as of 6.0, it has incredible self-healing.
Oh, by the way, this takes me on a memory lane with freaking Zelda. Like, Zelda was, I think, the first game. I was playing a lot of like Super Mario and stuff, but Zelda was like one of the first games I've ever played. Like, I remember having like a Super Nintendo, and I was playing like this old school Zelda. I think it was Zelda A Link to the Past, if I'm not mistaken. That was like the first Zelda I was really getting into, A Link to the Past. Like, holy shit, I was playing so much Zelda back in the day. Like, it was crazy. And when then like Nintendo 64 came out, I was addicted to Ocarina of Time. Then I got Majora's Mask and those good old days Zelda. Like, this is what I was looking the most forward to when I came back home from school. Like, freaking Zelda. And then like other stuff came out, and I was getting into Diablo, Warcraft 3 and stuff. That's like my gaming memory lane. So what were your first games that you got into? Let me know in the comment section. But Zelda, holy shit, this brings back so many good memories of my childhood.
It goes through a physical and magic damage phase, and as of 6.0, it has incredible self-healing built into its core rotation. They have situational utility that isn't often needed, but can be a run saver when it is. Out of all the others, they probably fit the role of pure tank the best. They've got strong defensive cooldowns, and they fit the aesthetic of protecting the party well, with skills like Fluency, Intervention, Cover, and Passage of Arms. The high-level rotation can be a bit tricky to learn for a completely new player, but it starts off very simple and lets you get used to skills as you level up. Just like a white knight, he starts gentle. I'd say you should pick this if you like a bit of complexity and the idea of helping the party when needed sounds fun for you. Warrior has an Oonga Boonga reputation, but real Sigmas know that going anime-style berserk and out of control is just as edgy as having your own
It looks so aggressive and cool.
Aesthetic, they press a button, go crazy, and this magically allows them to auto-crit. Game logic. It's easy to pick up and learn in a short period of time, and they have insanely good self and party healing to the point where they don't often need a healer at max level. They're also strong in the defensive cooldown department though, with plenty of options for tank buster mechanics. As a caveat, it does have the lowest DPS of all tanks currently, but the difference between each tank is so marginal that it doesn't change the fact that
it has the lowest DPS?
Powerful. Maybe even too powerful. Don't let the warrior mains hear me say that. I'd say this is a good choice if you like being self-sufficient and you value simplicity in your gameplay. Dark Knight is the misunderstood teenager
my most favorite tank.
Deaf parents that just don't understand him. Like Paladin, it also deals magical damage, but they have no cast times to speak of because they're afraid they'll look stupid by just standing there casting. This job received some good changes in 6.1, making it...
You know what's funny, guys? I need to tell you something, and a lot of you Final Fantasy XIV veterans, you guys are going to laugh at me for this. You know what the first job was I wanted to actually pick when I wanted to get into like Final Fantasy XIV? And I had no clue about like roles. What is freaking tanking? What is freaking healing in this game, DPS? I wanted to pick Dark Knight because I thought I was going to be some sort of like, kind of like the Death Knight in World of Warcraft. I was being like some kind of knight that uses freaking black magic and stuff with like this big ass sword and stuff. Like, I thought this was a DPS job. I really wanted to make a Dark Knight. I just looked at the pictures, screenshots, and how sick it looks. Like, it looks so nice. And I wanted to make this. And then someone told me, wait, what did I actually start as? It was like Bard or something? I had to pick something at the beginning, and it was not available. Then I learned later on, oh, this is a new job, right? Like, you need to be a certain level, then you unlock it. So I couldn't pick it from the beginning. That's why I didn't play one, right? Because I was like so confused. Where's the Dark Knight? I mean, character creation now. And then I think I picked Bard or something as first. And it's like so funny. And then like someone told me in chat, you know what? Dark Knight is a tank. It's not a DPS. I was so shocked. I didn't know that. But it looks so cool. I still wanna like level it and stuff and yeah, tank a low. Because so far I've only been like really healing, DPSing, and I've been having a close look at freaking streams of people like tanking and stuff. And yeah, tanking doesn't seem that difficult. I talked also to a bunch of people.
Have no cast times to speak of because they're afraid they'll look stupid by just standing there casting. This job received some good changes in 6.1, making it more approachable to new players and giving veterans the strongest sense of euphoria since the release of Female Viera. If your main selling point is dark aesthetics, they've got tons of that packed into this job, and damn is it sick.
Like the animations are the best.
But a bit more difficult than Warrior as they have several off-global cooldowns.
Oh yeah, it's better animations than Warrior.
They're not very blessed in the realm of self-healing or defensive cooldowns with far less options than any other tank. In exchange for these flaws, they do currently have the best DPS of all tanks. So I would pick this job if you like to deal big damage and the difficulty curve doesn't turn you off from tanking as a whole. To round off the tanks, we have Gunbreaker, a fast-paced that's great for either rabbit squirrels or caffeine addicts. It has the second highest DPS of all tanks because it just presses its buttons harder than anyone.
Don't you just... You have also shields and stuff, kind of like the Scholar, right? You can like shield your allies. I think there was like one skill, because I've been playing a couple of runs with Gunbreaker. I have like a friend that was like doing dungeons with me. And they can like put freaking shields on others or something, if I'm not mistaken. And yeah, that's basically the tank version of the machinist or something like that.
Anyone else? Why didn't the other jobs think of that? Their cartridge system gives them access to special moves that are guaranteed to boost your serotonin levels. Now, I'll be honest and say I don't think this job is extremely approachable to new players, especially if it's your first time tanking. The rotation is fun and enjoyable to learn, but can be punishing when trying to manage
Looks
defensive
cool.
cooldowns on top of it. But don't let that discourage you. The base rotation is very simple in and of itself, so it's just a matter of planning your defensive cooldowns, of which Gunbreaker has plenty. Their self-healing isn't as good as Warrior or Paladin, but it's still noticeable and gives them considerable self-sustain. And also, let's be honest with ourselves, their aesthetic is absolutely banger. Choose this if you like to go so
Not as good as
speed
Dark
and
Knight,
you
but
like a
close.
good balance between defensives and self-healing. Healers, this is the perfect role for you if the idea of trying the Carolina Reaper fills you with ecstasy.
Oh, I love
or your
healers.
main goal in life is to solve
It's
everyone
fun.
else's problems, but never your own. Once again, don't be intimidated by the support title. Much like tanks, healing is very approachable in this game and forgiving.
It's not hard.
Potency is very high and the outgoing damage is weak, so you have a wide margin for error. The goal of healers is not to heal so much as it is to keep the party alive and deal as much damage of their own as they can. 6.0 made this even easier with the shorter cast times, meaning they can weave on every single DPS cast. As for cons, they really don't have much in the way of a DPS rotation, so if that's important to you, I suggest rolling tank or ranged. The balancing act between healing and DPSing comes together with practice, and because the game is designed to be friendly to new players, you'll have plenty of time to get the hang of things. White Mage is the pure healer that uses water, earth, wind, and holy magic. Just kidding,
It's
you're only
basically
going to get
shaman.
holy and water magic at level
Shaman.
90. Hey, I had you there. One of its strengths is that its base toolkit is very potent, so when things go to hell in a handbasket, White Mage can usually bring things back from the brink of death. Their spammable AoE, Holy, has a stun connected to it, which makes it convenient for dungeon runs. They also have a unique skill, Presence of Mind, that allows them to go even further beyond. They don't have many off-global cooldowns, but they do have the Lily system. It lets you save up to 3 strong heals at any given time, either single target or AoE. And it unlocks a Flatus
That's
Misery
nice
at the
for
end, which is a
emergencies.
big damage spell that gives back the DPS you lost from healing. So you're basically a Karen who constantly comes around asking for a refund. I'd say you should pick this job if it's important for you to be able to heal from the get-go and you like seeing big numbers pop up on the screen.
Isn't also like, if I'm not mistaken, like there's also like a rating of what's like what has like the highest healing power. Isn't like White Mage the also job with the highest healing power? Just like Dark Knight is the highest tank job with the highest DPS and stuff. I think they have the highest healing power, right? Because Scala, like I was healing on a Scala, and I feel like the healings are rather weak, but they provide a shield. Like I press one skill to heal my teammate, and my teammate is, let's say, 40% health. Then they are just at 60% health from my skill, but they have additional shield, and then their self-healing brings them up to 70-80% or something from that skill. Yeah, that's something I've noticed when I was like healing on Scala. Like my healings are not that strong, only gives sometimes 20-30% health back, but it puts a shield on top. But there was like a White Mage that was once with me in a group, and they just press one button and like the health is almost to maximum, but they don't have a shield, of course. So yeah, I think the healing power is pretty OP on White Mage.
The DPS you lost from healing. So you're basically a Karen who constantly comes around asking for a refund. I'd say you should pick this job if it's important for you to be able to heal from the get-go and you like seeing big numbers pop up on the screen. Scholar is a pet job shield healer and a
This is fun.
walking
very
r/I am
mobile.
very smart post. It requires you to keep an eye out for your fairy and properly position her so the heals can actually reach the party. But hey, in exchange for the hassle, you have a pet that can do a huge portion of the healing for you.
Holy
This
shit,
is where
how
the green
fast.
DPS meme comes from, and Scholar mains are probably tired of hearing it for 8 years. Their main healing mechanic is the ether flow system, which keeps their MP stable and is split between healing abilities and energy drain, a DPS skill that you use if healing isn't needed. They have good utility with a crit booster and a party-wide sprint.
Be very careful with energy drain. This is the mistake I did. I used it way too much, and then there was like a scenario when our teammate like really got low health, and I didn't have my burst heal skill anymore. Cause Scholar has like some burst heal, but it needs like this kind of energy you get, and when you use this kind, like you guys see those stones, those thingies here, those crystals. I forgot the name for it, but those crystal thingies. If you use it, you lose this, right? So you have to be really careful to make sure when you use energy drain. I think that's like the highest difficulty, like the most difficult part on the Scholar, like when to use energy drain. Because if you mess up, you don't have your emergency heal for a group mate that falls low.
They do have
Be
more to
careful with
learn
that.
compared to White Mage, but it isn't too difficult once you get used to it. One drawback is that they aren't quite as good at recovery when things go wrong, as their
Yeah,
base
the
heals
healing is
aren't
not
very
so
potent.
strong.
But Scholar is still a competent job and can do a great deal when in the right hands. You should pick this job if you enjoy
I think it's the most aggressive healer job as well.
without as much
Most
hassle
DPS.
as the Astrologian card system has. Astrologian is not to be mistaken with the person who dumped you because your Virgo vibes were too exhausting. They have a simple card management system that buffs the DPS of other party members.
Oh, that's nice. They're great
the heal
support.
system, which can buff their own MP regen, speed, or DPS depending on if you collect all three. Gotta catch 'em all, am I right? But all this
Gotta
utility
catch 'em
doesn't mean
all,
you're a slouch
gotta
in the
catch
healing
'em
department.
all.
They have an answer for any mechanic or fight. Need a regen? No worries. It's part of my kit. Need a shield? Oh, sure. Let me just use my OP ability neutral sec that somehow survived the 6.0 purge. MP regen? Yeah, it's tied to my entire kit. Need to heal a difficult mechanic? Macrocosmos, baby! They sound like they have it all, and they kinda do. But this can be a very fast-paced job when played at a high level, particularly for the average controller user. It's doable, but definitely has a learning curve. They can be a bit clunky, but they're an extremely strong healer packed full of party utility. So if you enjoy a challenge and this is a mountain you want to climb, it's a good one to choose. Sage is the new shield healer with the most confusing name to aesthetic ratio in the entire game. My running theory is that it's just an acronym for Surgeons Always Gank Enemies. It's fast-paced and similar to Scholar. It has automatic healing built into its kit,
It's
which
nice
does
too.
require you to be continuously DPSing in order to keep it active, but hey, you're gonna be doing that on every healer anyway. It has tons
Yeah.
of off-global cooldowns and even has a gap closer, making it the first healer with a unique self-movement option. Its gauge functions similarly to White Mage's Lily system and is tied to its MP restore, which can admittedly suffer a bit when no
One thing is unfair though about Sage versus the other healers. Like Sage has, I feel like, the biggest animations. Like when you look at the skills, they shine so bright. It's like just so strongly visible. Maybe some animations of like the other healers need a little bit of a rework. Because it's way more modern. It's like a new job. I mean, what do you expect? Of course, the animations are more fleshed out, but
healing is needed. They don't have
crazy.
any
Look
party
at this.
utility save for their massive off-global
So
cooldown
nice.
healing kit. But this job is fun to learn anyway, mostly because lasers make my inner 9-year-old go sicko mode. Pick this job if you
Yeah,
have
it's so
prior
cool.
experience healing in an MMO and you
Wanna
want
try it
slightly
too.
more DPS options than the other healers have. Casters! Now this may come as a shock, but they cast spells and deal magical damage. The obvious benefit is that they don't need to
Red
be in
mage.
melee range to deal damage. Every caster is easy to understand at a basic level, and they provide more DPS than the range classes while having decent mobility themselves with their unique skills and sly
Yoshi
casting.
P's main
So
job.
they will have to
Check.
sacrifice some mobility, and being forced to cancel a cast you'd almost finish just to dodge an AoE can trigger the old gamer rage. So they benefit from good positioning and situational awareness. First off is Summoner, a pet class that has recently received a massive tummy tuck and facelift. This is the most
Yeah.
approachable job in the entire game, as the base rotation isn't complex, it goes at a moderate to slow pace.
That's why some people are actually upset about the changes, because it has gotten simpler. Some say like, Summoner was a bit challenging, now it's way easier. And I agree, because I played quite a lot of Summoner before it got changed, and it's definitely like, it feels to me a bit simpler, like more simplified. But I also think it's really cool with like the new summons. Like I feel like the animations have improved by a lot. I think it looks so freaking cool when you summon those primals and stuff. It's OP and it's really fun as well. And holy shit, I love the new summoner actually. I think they really did a good job with the rework.
Received a massive tummy tuck and facelift. This is the most approachable job in the entire game, as the base rotation isn't complex, it goes at a moderate to slow pace. They have good utility in the form of a battle race and Searing Light, which is a party-wide small DPS buff. They're extremely mobile, with the bulk of their casts being instant, making them reach ranged levels of mobility most of the time. Expectedly though, they do have the least DPS of all the casters. Unlike Scholar, their summons will handle themselves for the most part, so positioning isn't as much of a priority. Their They're also extremely flashy. Are you seeing this shit? It's almost distracting. In fact,
Yeah,
it is distracting.
better
This
animations.
is the only job that lets other players use a command to make your pet smaller. Even though this is an easy class, sometimes easy can still be pretty enjoyable, particularly when you're just starting out and learning. Pick this job if you're new to the MMO genre, or you like to focus more on boss mechanics rather than rotational mechanics. Red Mage is the French job of the series with memes that make me very homicidal. And yes, I am slightly ashamed of that one. Other than that though,
Hi.
it's a fun job that varies between being moderate to fast-paced with a simple rotation that's easy to understand at a glance. It's mobile, not as much as Summoner, but its dual cast mechanic makes every other spell instant. They have a melee combo with their sword, and it's pretty flashy. Actually,
Yeah, I love the melee combo. I had to get used to it and make sure that like this is always like at full, like the white and the black energy. And I think it's so cool how you can be like a hybrid of a melee and a caster. That's so cool about like freaking Red Mage. I feel like Red Mage is like very, very unique. I don't know too many freaking classes in MMOs that have something that is like Red Mage. Like usually in MMOs you have either a pure caster or a pure melee. But to have something that's like both at the same time, I think that makes Red Mage very unique and interesting to play, in my opinion.
the entire job is prime aesthetic real estate. They have good DPS, and their main mechanic, the white and black mana gauge, is very forgiving. It also has a ton of utility
Yeah,
with a
pretty
battle
much.
raise, a decent healing spell, a party-wide DPS buff, and a magic defense and heal-boosting shield. Honestly, they don't have many flaws, though they can be caught in a bad situation movement-wise if you don't manage your cooldowns properly. This is a great job if you want the best of both worlds on the casting and melee front, and you love being able to assist the party in virtually any way it could need. Black Mage is Yoshi P's golden child,
Yeah.
and its design reflects that blatant favoritism. Their aesthetic is fire, ice, thunder, and void magic, so it's great for people who are edgy but aren't quite ready to take that leap into Reaper just yet.
Oh yeah, but Black Mage is also, I think, the most difficult caster job. I was leveling a bit, and I don't have any issues. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, I'm still performing nicely, but I find it like a bit more tough when it comes to positioning during fights. Like, you need to know already where should you stand and stuff like that. Like, you need to freaking position yourself super, super well, and you need to stay in this circle here for a damage boost. If you get out of the circle, your damage goes down. So yeah, make sure you know a fight already, like maybe look it up online if you're like doing it for a first time, or just do it on like a easier difficulty before you get into like the super difficult stuff. Yeah, so positioning, so important here, holy shit.
It has the best DPS of all casters and can outdo most melees, but it has no utility and the least movement options of all casters
Yeah.
in exchange. Still, they're no slouch in that department, as triple cast stacks give them great
And
mobility.
you need
when
patience
used well.
because of the
trick this
cast
job
times.
is positioning so that you move as little as possible, because these cast times can take a hot second compared to, say, Summoner. This is where the healer adjust meme comes from. I'll be honest and say I don't think this job is super approachable to someone who's new, as all the movement cost from learning mechanics could
It's
be
fun.
pretty frustrating with canceling casts left and right. My suggestion is to play this job if you're looking for a challenge and you have prior experience with MMOs. Home on the Ranged, a role for people
Oh,
who need to keep their
Machinist, I
distance
love
from the
it.
boss so they're not destroyed by its massive
One of my
chat
most
energy.
favorite jobs.
This is the home of the utility and maximum mobility squad, unless you're a machinist, but they'll have to wait their turn. Every range class is pretty simple. If from no other perspective, then the gist of this rotation is easy to understand. It's a forgiving role for beginners because you move as much as you want. Your main advantage is that
Pretty
your
much.
DPS stays the same whether the boss is 20 feet away or right on top of you, and you can maintain that even in situations where you're forced to be on the move. Casters could never. I mean, other than Summoner. Because of your utility, everyone's happy to see you in the dungeon, and the main con is you have the lowest personal damage of all the DPS roles, but with the ability to hop around the entire arena, who really cares, right?
Talking about Dancer, when I first saw Dancer and I was like new to the game, I thought Dancer was freaking melee because of the kind of weapons they're holding, right? Like, it looks like they actually fight melee or something. And Dancer, because you're dancing, you think about like some freaking capoeira moves or something. Like, you're dancing and in your dance you freaking kick your enemy or something. Like, that's what I thought when I first saw Dancer, like a screenshot of it and stuff. And also a player in-game when I was new. Like I said, Dark Knight and now also Dancer, they were the two jobs that I mistook for another role. Like, seriously. I thought Dancer is melee and Dark Knight is TPS. Yeah, but now I know more about FF14, fortunately.
DPS
That's
roles,
good.
but with the ability to hop around the entire arena, who really cares, right? Bard is the OG ranged role and is definitely not suffering an identity crisis with its archer
Yes, nice
roots.
animations.
Their gameplay is on the more fast-paced side, with lots of proc-heavy mechanics that can have you double weaving here and there. They have 3 songs to maintain, and each one does something different that gives Bard a somewhat more unique playstyle than the others. What's more, their songs are constantly buffing the party. That means Bard is singing and slinging arrows and moving while dealing with mechanics. What an icon. The rotation itself isn't too difficult. Any problems you face will probably be related to not being able to use procs on time without clipping your GCD. This is a job that starts out very
cooldowns.
easy and has a natural progression towards getting more complex. Pick this if you like your job to grow with you, so to speak, and having unique methods of party support sounds essential to you.
How is it with
Dancer
DPS
is a role
actually
popular
on
with
Bard?
cat girls who idle in limbs of Lamensa. Wonder why that is. Anyway, Servant Summoner,
course.
this is an approachable and easy
Belly
job that I can
dancers.
happily recommend to newcomers. Their primary buffing mechanic is the dance partner Tether, the strongest DPS buff in the game. They can pick one single DPS as their partner at the beginning of an instance and not really need to worry about it after. But wait, there's more.
Who
Along
do you
with
pick is the
heals
question,
and
though.
a defense boosting skill. Its mobility may be the best of all jobs because of its 3 dash charges, which lets it escape bad situations in a second. On top of all that, the changes in 6.1 have only made this job easier. It's not ridiculously flashy, but it's fun to look at, and it fills its dancing aesthetic well. I'd recommend it to players who want a simple DPS job that's got more utility than Summoner. Machinist is a role that wields abominations that should never be called guns. It's considered the
It's so
selfish
fun.
range DPS that's meant to have the most damage in the role, while boasting much less utility compared
Yeah,
to the
you
others.
have no
Its
utility,
pace ranges
sadly.
from very fast, with lots of moments where you need to weave in off global cooldowns, to slowing down considerably when the cooldowns are running. They've got a
I had actually a little problem when I was like first playing the Machinist. So you have like this kind of heat gauge, right, where you go like big DPS mode, and you have this kind of drone you can summon, and it will later be this queen thingy, right, like this big cyborg. And I didn't know when I should summon this, when should I use like this heat thingy. Like this was the only difficulty I actually had on Machinist. Because I was not managing it right. And then you have like this bomb, right? And what's like important about this bomb, that you put the bomb when certain skills are ready and stuff for maximum DPS. So you need to like time the bomb with certain skills, like your hardest hitting skills and stuff. Because then because it kind of like stores damage in it, this bomb, and then when it explodes, like the damage you have inflicted will actually further buff the damage of this bomb. So it's like very important that you do a lot of damage while the bomb is on a target. Yeah, I had to learn this, like it took me a bit.
less utility compared to the others. Its pace ranges from very fast,
It
with
took a
lots
bit
of
of
moments
time.
where you need to weave in off global cooldowns, to slowing down considerably when the cooldowns are
It's
running.
so fun,
They've got
though.
a high-tech aesthetic that stretches out to more than just guns, as they also
Yeah.
have turrets, drills, flamethrowers, bioblasters,
The flamethrower
automaton
looks OP.
queens, and a chainsaw. Though this job is potentially a serial killer that has an aesthetic you're not going to find anywhere else in the game. One drawback is that this job is heavily punished for bad ping, so take that into consideration if you
Oh,
want to
yeah.
your server. It's not the most approachable job, but it's definitely doable.
And you
I'd
to have
suggest
fast
playing this
fingers.
if you'd like to be highly mobile and you're not too concerned with the utility aspect of the ranged role.
Lots of
Yes,
clicking.
The world of the melee is a heavily populated one indeed. It's easy to see why, as they tend to look sick as fuck and have higher DPS potential than most of the jobs from
Dragoon
other
is so
roles.
cool.
It's all about the big numbers, baby. They also have higher survivability, with DPS gear that has the best defensive stats out of the bunch. They all have good utility, save for Samurai, which I'll talk
Oh,
about
ninja.
more later. Their rotations, on average, can be a little bit more complex.
Yeah, when it comes to like my current favorite jobs, because yeah, like this video is supposed to help me to find help like to choose a job. To be honest, this video confuses me now way more to find a job, because I see just so much good stuff. Like I even want to try out jobs I've never tried before from just watching this. Like Lucy Pyre is making me more confused with this video actually, because she shows like all those cool things. But it's very informative so far. I really like this video. And yeah, Ninja, like for me right now, which jobs I personally like the most from those that I've tried, and I have a hard time actually picking what to main. This is like my issue now. Like I love Ninja as much as I love Machinist, but I'm also really liking Summoner. And it's like tough for me. I thought about like, should I main Ninja? Should I main Summoner? Should I perhaps go for freaking Machinist? Like I really love those three a lot. I also like Black Mage a lot, but I feel like maybe I'm not as good on Black Mage because I always stand at the wrong place. But yeah, those three followed closely by Black Mage, I think. Yeah. I really love Ninja. It's cool. I love that it's like complex and you need to weave like those signs and you can't mess up or you get a freaking bunny on your head and stuff.
Samurai,
And people
which
laugh
I'll
at you
talk
for
about
this.
more later. Their rotations, on average, can be a little bit more complex, but they're still not too bad once you get the hang of it. Their main drawback is pretty easy to guess. They have to stay in melee range to maintain their DPS, and it can take time to get the exact spacing for max melee range down to a T. These classes may take a while to master, but rest assured that it's very possible, even if you're new. Dragoon is a wonderfully flashy job that's haunted by its past of being a floor tank, which isn't really deserved, because all melees spend time tanking the floor, and it doesn't deserve to be singled out like that. It has a busy rotation with lots of off-global cooldowns to weave, but the 6.1 changes have helped fix some of the animation luck issues attached to the jumps. For a starting class, it's honestly not the most approachable if you're starting from level 80, but if you're planning to go from level 1, it has a natural progression of ramping up the difficulty bit by bit. It has average mobility with a few jumps
That's why you
that can
shouldn't
close the
boost.
distance and a backwards jump that has caused some memes to occur. It has great utility with a DPS boosting tether and a party-wide crit buff at its disposal. My main complaint with this job is that they'd be better off with cone AoEs rather than line AoEs, but it's not hard to get used to. I'd pick this job if you love the aesthetic and you like the feeling of always having something to do in your rotation.
And if you love
Ninja
Estinian.
is the masochist of the DPS group that likes to be publicly humiliated for messing up its rotation.
Oh,
Yes,
yeah,
if you
the bunny.
mess up a Mudra mechanic, the devs have decided the entire party should be able to know. So this job isn't for you if you don't like wizard bunnies. Because of that, you'll need to memorize a few different combinations for Mudra, but it's very easy to pick up and memorize.
The new
quickly.
skill
It has
with
a
the
speed
lightning
buff
is so
that it
cool.
needs to maintain, so it's a fast-paced job.
I
Mobility
have to level up my
not too
ninja,
bad,
I think.
with Shikuchi
I go
that
ninja.
requires you to ground target to move, which once again can be a pain for controller users, but they can also maintain a bit of uptime with their mudras, so some can be cast from afar. This
So
job isn't the
cool.
most approachable of all or anything, but
Who
it's
cares?
still
It's
not
cool.
too difficult to pick up and do decent numbers with. This job is a good choice if you're okay with a bit of memorization and having slight range potential on your melee sounds good to you. Monk proves that being loyal to Buddha isn't about how much you can meditate.
Loyal
It's
to
about
Buddha.
how hard you can punch a cat girl directly in their sinful adventurer plate. Recently, it received an overhaul this expansion, so lots of things are different from before.
Wait, let's go back there. Oh yeah, those adventure plates, there are some really fascinating ones these days, right? I want to find this plate. There it is. Like, look at this. Yo, that looks so wrong. Holy shit. Like, it's crazy with those adventure plates, like what people are doing with those.
Adventurer plate. Recently, it received an overhaul this expansion, so lots of things are different from before. They have
Holy
good
shit.
utility in the form of Brotherhood, and because it comes with a built-in speed buff, it's decently fast-paced. While they do have off-global cooldowns to deal with, they're not as reliant on them as some jobs are. They've got good mobility with 3 stacks of gap closer, which is necessary because this job is punished the most when you need to keep distance from the boss. They have high DPS, and while this job's rotation did confuse me at first glance, I realized how simple it was during the
You're
short
freaking
leveling
Son Goku.
process. If even
Dragon
an
Ball
idiot
Z.
like me can do it, you'll be
Dragon Ball
fine.
Z.
Pick this
Like,
job
seriously.
if you like to do big numbers and DBZ is your favorite anime. Reaper is the spoiled brat of the melee DPS that gets anything it wants because it's the newborn baby. But I mean,
It
don't
looks
take
so
me
nice.
as bitter or anything. This is a really fun job to play, and everyone and their mom's dog likes it. It has a simple rotation, and I'd say it's the most
Shit.
approachable melee by a good bit. This is part
What do I actually need for Reaper? Must I have finished a certain expansion? I don't have tried Reaper yet, but I love the look of it. I actually want to learn more about it. Maybe in this video I can. I should check out some guides on freaking Reaper, because Reaper is like one of the new jobs that I've barely looked into, to be honest. But I really love the animations, and the reason I think why I love Reaper is because Reaper reminds me of Dark Knight, and I really like Dark Knight, but Dark Knight is a tank, and I would rather be a DPS. Like, that's my personal taste. And Reaper has some elements that Dark Knight has, and like maybe a little bit aesthetically with like those kind of like red animations that look like freaking dark magic, and they are probably dark magic. I mean, here void reaping, so it's like void magic. It's freaking cool. I have to like see how I can actually unlock this. If I can unlock it now, I will give it a shot. If not, I will just do it later, because we're now in the middle of Stormblood. Like, we're halfway through Stormblood. And yeah, I have to like stream more often now on Twitch and finish freaking Stormblood. So yeah, we have also Twitch, by the way. Feel free to follow us there, and I will stream some MSQ soon. So yeah.
option, and I'd say it's the most approachable melee by a good bit. This is partly because it has very few off-global cooldowns compared to the other melee. It plays at a moderate speed with some fast-paced moments in their edgy avatar form, but it's all very manageable. Their AoE rotation is also insanely satisfying and looks cool as hell. It has good mobility with ingress and is the only melee that can cast spells from a distance. Its utility is great, with Arcane Circle buffing damage and Arcane Crest putting a potent regen on the entire party when broken. Don't ask me how a Reaper is healing people. I choose not to think about it. Because of how simple and fun this job is, I highly recommend it to any new players who want to try melee, or just people who want to experience a rewarding gameplay loop. I would say that Samurai is the job for weeaboos, and I would be correct, but it goes a bit deeper than that. Samurai is for degenerate weeps. Normal weeps should go back to Ninja where they belong. Fair warning that it's also received some very controversial changes that may be reverted, so please note that the experience may be different soon. Anyway, Samurai is a moderate to fast-paced job that needs to maintain a DPS and speed buff to do maximum damage. Its sense system lets it use 3 unique EI jutsus, which are all good for different situations and will always crit. They have the Kinky Gauge, which is used for your mobility, which is a backstep and a gap closer. Other than that, you mostly use Kenki to spam a DPS move.
I love the gap closer.
It's relatively approachable and easy to understand, meaning you can pull good numbers with this job without 100% knowing what you're doing. In exchange for having the best melee DPS, it has no utility to speak of, so when things go south, Samurai kinda just has to shrug. Because it might get reworked soon, I can't outright
I think the jobs that have like the fewest utility is Machinist, Samurai, and Black Mage, if I'm correct. I think those 3 are the ones. Like, they have literally 0 utility.
Recommended to new players until at least 6.2. But if you're determined to try it out, I'd recommend it to players who value high numbers and only want to focus on their own damage, and would rather let the rest of the party do their own thing. And we also have Blue Mage. Wait, holy shit, I already did every valid job. Man, I truly got
Blue Mage, what is
19
this?
job sauce.
Does it even exist?
Sure if anything I said made sense, but if nothing else, I hope you're a little bit closer to jumping into Eorzea with the same confidence of a neckbeard who immediately chooses to play a cat girl and never thinks twice. Have a wonderful day. And may Lucy Pyre have mercy on your soul.
Okay, no rap this time. Let me like this. This is very informative. But this one actually didn't do the job it says in the freaking title. So I need help choosing a job. I'm even more confused now after watching this video. I'm gonna be honest. Like, I thought this one would bring me some more clarity and I know now what I wanna play, but it actually confused me more because like I see so much cool stuff. Now I really want to try out Reaper because I saw some Reaper action here. Like, I want to give Bard a chance on higher level. I'm actually wondering how is Bard now, because I want to compare now Bard with Machinist. Before I didn't want to, but after this video I want to compare them both. I'll try Reaper. It confused me even more. But yeah. Oh shit, yeah, I need to grind up my ninja because now the summoner is the one that's like on the current level for the MSQ, right? So if we are streaming on Twitch, I can just do it now on Summoner because it's currently the highest, right? So yeah, I need to catch up on jobs like Ninja and stuff, so we can also do some quests in the MSQ on that one, right? Oh yeah. But this was a cool video. And yeah, if you guys are new to this channel, please don't forget to hit that subscribe button for more content. And yeah, play whatever you feel like looks cool to you. I think like in Final Fantasy XIV, like the jobs, like the classes are pretty balanced, so it doesn't actually matter what you pick really. Like, just think about it from like a RP perspective. What do you think would be cool for you to play? Do you feel like you're this type of person that really loves magic, big explosions, and perhaps you go Black Mage? If you are like a person that loves freaking swords, fights and stuff, maybe go Samurai or so. Yeah, I think this is how you should focus on like animations and RP perspective if you are into RP. If you're just into the animations and coolness, just look at every skill and be like, oh, this looks cool. Yo, I can look at this every day, like, I love those freaking gun explosions and stuff, and like, oh, this is so cool. I'll go with Machinist or something, right? Because you love like shooting with a gun. So yeah, pick your job based on what you think looks cool. That's my suggestion. And I wish everyone a wonderful day. I will see you guys next time.